my pleasure to welcome you as the Utah Music Educators Association Music Advocacy Chair. This is a wonderful event that helps celebrate music education and its role in students' lives here in Utah. I'd like to briefly turn the time over to Lieutenant Governor Cox for some remarks.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here today. This is a very important event. You are here on the next to last day of the legislative session, so things are a little crazy right now, and I only get to be with you for about 5 minutes, which I know is a relief to all of you because you have a wonderful program ahead of us. But I will tell you that the acoustics in this place are awful when you're speaking, but they're amazing when you bring a band like this to come and play. I still have chills from that. That was impressive, and congratulations to Davis High. As I thought about what I might share with you, music plays a very important part of my life, and it has since I was a small child. Literally, the lives of my children, they're only alive because of music, and this is how I will share that. I met my wife the first time when she came and asked me if she could switch piano lesson times with me. We took piano lessons from the same teacher in high school, and that's how I met my future wife, was with that conversation. So I'm very grateful that I had parents that insisted that I take piano lessons from a young age. Now, I don't play the piano very well because I was one of those students that really didn't practice the way I should. I'm not proud of it, but I learned a lot of lessons that have helped me with my own children. In our house, you have to play at least 2 instruments, and you have to sing in the choir. High school. Those are just requirements, and there's a reason for that. And I believe in data and creativity. And the data says that if you do play an instrument, that if you are involved in music, that you will be a much better student in school, that the brain function just improves. And too often we talk, sorry, I'm getting some feedback. Are you hearing that feedback as well? Oh, it's not actually, okay. All right, we'll keep trying here. We've spent a lot of time recently with our legislators talking about the importance of STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math. And all of those things are very important. We have a lot of job opportunities, STEM opportunities here. But the governor and I are both committed to adding the arts portion of that. We're committed to STEM. And I want to be very clear on this point. What makes the United States different as an economy is our ability to be creative. There are lots of cultures, there are lots of other economies in this world that can do STEM, and they can copy things that are already out there, and we've seen that. The Chinese are very good at that. But if you don't have that creative component, our entire economy stagnates. We need people that can not just be smart, but we need people that can create the next generation. I have here my iPhone, which is an incredibly impressive device, and it does a lot of computer things, but it's also a beautiful device. It's a work of art, and it gives us the ability, again, to create, and that's what is so impressive. That's why I'm so glad you're here, that we have educators that are committed to this. I want you to know that we're behind you, that we're committed to this as well, and we're here to help in any way we can. I'll close with this. Yesterday, my son had to write an essay, and he had to write an essay on what was unique about him, or how he would describe himself. And he started out this way. He said, "Throughout my life, I have had many defining moments and incredible adventures. Some of my favorite experiences have been on stage performing in my band with my 2 best friends. We have had many opportunities to play in front of large crowds and diverse and important groups of people." He goes on to say this, "I have always loved music. Music is a way for me to get out my anger and frustration and forget my problems." So I think most of that anger and frustration and problems come from a dad and mom who are always causing him those problems. But that is also his release, and it's critical for him. Now, I had a midlife crisis a few years ago. I always wanted to be in a rock band, and I was a balding, middle-aged politician, apparently. So my brother and I decided that we were finally going to live our dreams and start our rock band. and it's been one of the most fun things we've done. So we go around. If you have any bar mitzvahs or anything you want us to play for, we'll come and play. Our little rock band will do that. I'm joking a little bit, but it's been so much fun for us to have that creative release. When I leave this job and I get to go home and I get out my bass guitar and I turn it up really, really loud, that's how I release my frustrations with 104 legislators up here. So thank you for what you're doing. Keep up the good work and good luck.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Cox. We really appreciate his comments, and I, before we started, had just a minute to speak with Governor Herbert, who was on his way to another meeting, and he reiterated his support of the arts and the effect of STEAM. So we're grateful for their support in our government right now. I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Caleb Chapman directs over 150 of Utah's most talented young musicians in elite ensembles, including the Crescent Super Band. He was named the John Laporta International Jazz Educator of the Year in 2011, as well as being honored in 2013 with the prestigious Utah Performing Artists Award. Since 2005, Caleb's students have been honored with 22 Downbeat Awards and 11 Best of State Awards in Utah. Graduates of his program have been placed in the top music schools in the country, with annual scholarship offers for seniors topping over $1 million. Please welcome Caleb Chapman.
Good afternoon. It's such a huge honor to be here for such a great cause. When my wife and I began the Soundhouse Musician Training Program 17 years ago, I don't think either of us understood the full impact of music education. Since that time, we've watched hundreds of students' lives be transformed because of music, but not in the ways we typically discuss in music advocacy. For the last several decades, America has been enlightened to the benefits of music education like never before. Thanks to significant research, we have proof that music positively impacts almost every aspect of our development. As a matter of fact, it's tempting to compare it to one of those magic cure-alls that was peddled in the 1800s, only this one actually works. Check it out. We now know that studying music improves test scores. It also enhances abstract reasoning skills and early cognitive development required for math, science, and engineering. It improves reading skills, fine motor skills, vocabulary, nonverbal reasoning, and enhances learning in other core subjects. Studying music has proven to increase graduation rates. It fosters teamwork, self-esteem, and leadership skills. It develops critical thinking and increases IQ. Studying music can even improve your health and increase your lifespan. It makes me wonder if there's anything studying music can't do. It hasn't been tested yet, but I would guess studying music could possibly improve your chances at love and possibly even whiten your teeth. So why, if we know so many of the benefits of music education, are we here today, still trying to convince our legislature that we need to keep funding music in our schools? We've shared this information with them for years. They know the implications on math, science, and life skills. Are they waiting for us to find more benefits? Short of curing cancer or bringing about world peace, I'm not really sure what's left. In other words, what's the problem? May I propose what the problem might be, and perhaps even the solution? I conducted an informal poll of many of my friends, ranging from hobbyist musicians to Grammy-winning artists. I wanted to know what motivated their love for music. Where did it come from? Here are just a few of the many responses I received. One friend said, "I've adopted kids from all over the world, China, Haiti, India, Colombia, and the United States. My kids were everywhere from newborn to 11 years old when we adopted them. Music was the very first language we taught them. It not only helped them learn, it helped them feel connected to us. Music fills my house and spills out the doors and windows. My children trail bits and pieces of it when they leave and bring new songs when they return. Music ties my family together." Folks, that's the real power of music. This response from Scott Iwasaki brought tears to my eyes as I read it. Scott covered music for the Salt Lake Tribune for many years before becoming the arts editor for the Park Record. He relates, "I was and still am a small Japanese American. When I was in the 7th grade, my family moved from Salt Lake City to Wichita, Kansas. Wichita was home to Boeing and Cessna, the same companies that manufactured planes for World War II. As a result, there was still significant anti-Japanese sentiment at the time, and I was teased and bullied constantly. During this period, music comforted me, gave me an idea of what I wanted to do with my life. It also helped me become creative and get my frustrations out. And although I know this sounds cliche, playing music saved me from doing many stupid things out of anger, sadness, and boredom. Music has been my constant companion through thick and thin. It has never betrayed me. For me, music equals life. That's the real power of music. I love this response from my friend Jeff Coughlin of the Dave Matthews Band. He said, "Music connects me to myself and to everyone and everything around me. Music is, quite possibly, the greatest thing ever." These responses help me reflect on my own life that has been packed with similar experiences. Just last year, I traveled to Cuba with several talented young musicians from our Utah Soundhouse location. Our flagship ensemble, the Crescent Super Band, had been invited to be a featured act at the Fiesta del Tambor, Cuba's national music and dance festival. Well, in Havana, we visited Cuba's National School of Music, home to dozens of the country's most talented high school-age student musicians. At first, our Utah students were very timid in interacting with them. The language barrier made communication incredibly difficult, and they were reduced to sharing smiles and nods. This quickly changed as the Crescent Super Band began to play and invited the Cuban students to join them in an impromptu jam session. In a short time, these students who had no means of verbal communication connected at a much deeper level. As the music making wrapped up, hugs, email addresses, and Facebook contacts were exchanged through very broken English and Spanish. I was absolutely stunned as I watched decades of isolation and mistrust between two countries crumble in a matter of minutes. That's the real power of music. Another experience that comes to mind involves one of my neighbors, Trevor Linderman, who was a lifelong musician. A few years back, he became terminally ill, and it was obvious in May of 2015 that his time on this earth was coming to a close. As his body began to seriously weaken, he moved back home for hospice care. At this time, his loving wife Chelsea called our family and asked if we could find musicians willing to play for him at home. She was confident that music would provide comfort and relief that medicine simply could not. As the days passed, many musicians came into their home, each of whom later shared that they felt like it was Trevor, in fact, who gave them the gift of music instead of the other way around. Chelsea described those visits like this. She said, "Trevor could no longer talk to me or our children, but as we gathered to hear the musicians, we were able to communicate and experience one another without words. We were having an emotional and common experience of beauty together, and there was no need to talk. It erased his anguish, if not being able to express himself, our anguish of not being able to talk to him. Our small children held still on his chest and listened. I held his hand. The music facilitated those moments of connection. When I think of those last incredibly difficult months, I don't think of Trevor being sick and deteriorating. I think of the music. That's the real power of music." All too quickly, Trevor passed on. The morning after his passing, we had the award-winning pianist Kurt Bester scheduled to come to the house to play for Trevor. On that day, it was Chelsea and her family who now needed the comfort of music. She timidly asked if Kurt might still consider visiting their home. He, of course, did, and honored Trevor's life in song for the grieving family members gathered there. I had the pleasure of sharing that experience with the family. It was truly awe-inspiring to watch the mood in that home transition in dramatic fashion from total despair to a celebration of a life as music was shared. That's the real power of music. I noticed the responses I received when describing the impact of music had common verbiage. Some of the words that occurred frequently were soul, life, heart, family, world, culture, hope, and love. Interestingly enough, not one person used the words science, engineering, or math in their response. In fact, not one single person mentioned academics or statistics of any kind as the root of their passion for music. Yet this is what we always lead with when justifying the existence of school music. Here's the reality of it. As a parent, if my child is doing poorly in math, I'm not going to sign them up for music lessons. I'm going to hire a math tutor. And when the legislature sees dropping math scores in our K-12 students, their first instinct is never, let's increase music funding for our schools. Look, we're here today because we already know the value of keeping music in our schools. I would propose that while many of us have experienced some or all of the benefits of studying music that I listed earlier, none of those are the reason we make music. The truth is, we all understand the real power of music. We make music for the sake of making music. And the benefits of that should be enough to justify keeping music in our schools. Friends, we're here today raising awareness for music education for one reason. Listen carefully to this. Now we are going to get to the real problem that we've created for ourselves. We are here fighting to keep music in our schools because we have forgotten to tell our legislature why we love music. We've forgotten to tell them why our kids love music. And maybe most importantly, we've forgotten to remind those legislators why they love music. And I'll let you in on a secret. It has absolutely nothing to do with test scores. So where would we be without music? I'm sure our kids would find some way to pass their math and science classes. And yes, if our child is struggling in school, we'll hire a tutor. But if I want to give my child one of the most cherished experiences of her life, I'm going to sign her up for music in her school. Saying we should keep music in our schools because it helps increase IQ is like saying I bought a car because I like air conditioning. True, a car has air conditioning, but that's not why we buy a car. We buy a car because it is a convenient and fast way of getting from point A to point B, and we can enjoy cool air while we're doing it. We do not have music in our schools because it increases IQ. We have music in schools because it gives purpose, enrichment, fulfillment, and joy to our students with the added bonus of all the rest. For those of us who love music education, it's fine to discuss the impact of music on academics and brain function. But let's make our rallying cry reflect what music is really about. Let's decide together today to tell our lawmakers to preserve music in our schools for the reason that matters to all of us, the immense joy that comes with making music for the sake of making music. Today we decide together to let legislators know that bringing this level of enjoyment into the lives of our children, into our homes, into our communities, into our culture is not something we're willing to live without. Not because it gives us a slew of secondary benefits, but because it gives us the biggest benefit of all, happiness. And I challenge any lawmaker in this building to put a dollar figure on something as critical to our very existence as that. Friends, today we decide to stop minimizing the importance that music plays in the lives of all of us. Today we decide together to acknowledge the real power of music and to save music for music's sake. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kayla, for your comments, and they're 100% of what we on the rostrum up here agree with and support. We would now like to turn some time over to Senator Backus, who has some comments for us as well. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everybody. Let me tell you something. Right up there is the Senate, and they're meeting. Right behind there is the House, and they're meeting. Right over in that corner is the governor. I don't know what the governor does. So we need to let them know that we're here. We need this place to shake. We need to make the sound not of music as much as noise. So that somebody who's driving by down there on State Street, just as they're just wandering along, would drive and suddenly go the roar would be so loud, they would look over and say, what the heck's going on in that Capitol? I want you to make so much noise that the governor drops his glasses and his veto pen, and the Senate gets ready to do something about arts. It was great to talk to the lieutenant governor, and it's wonderful he came, and an inspiring talk. You know what? I had a bill. The bill said 3% of the budget, 3% of the education budget we take away from science, math, blah, 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 and we give it to the arts. 3%. Is that too much? The millions and millions and millions that go into one newfangled computer or another and some system and some kind of, get zombie children in cubicles who are learning from computers, not 3%. 3% for the arts to turn our children human. That's all. How you doing? What's your name?
Matthew?
Do you like music? Yeah, not a lot of energy there. All right, we got work to do. Thank you, Matthew. All right, so what happened? It got to the committee, and all these people that say they love the arts, and they're all there, and whatever, when it came right down to it, that giant lobby, that corporate lobby that really says we want money to get little zombies starting in 8th or 9th grade, and we want to start training them to be whatever, so when they get out of high school, they eat up not most of the money, but all the money. And that's not good. It's not good for our children, it's not good for our culture, it's not good for our society, it's bad for all of us. So we've got to change that paradigm. And we're going to change it together here by letting up such a roar. Don't worry, the place is earthquake proof. That we can see that rotunda shake just a little bit in a moment here. That's what we're going to do. Because the arts matter. The arts matter so much, Caleb. What you do gives me goosebumps every time I hear one of your groups. Every time I see them, the ambassadors they are. How did we find that kind of talent? I don't know, in our state, but Caleb finds it. So, I am tired of talking about, well, let's talk about the arts and music in terms of it'll help us get economic development. You know what? It works the other way. It works the other way. Economic development is a byproduct of our children having a soul and understanding music and the arts and culture. That's how we build the rest. It's not a byproduct. It's not only good because it helps to build some kind of a corporate structure in the state. It is the very essence and soul. So, with that, on the count of 3, including all you musicians and singers, and this fabulous choir back here, you guys were terrific. Is this like the Tabernacle Choir junior size? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. You ready to talk? They're going to be listening. Yeah, little guy here's got his ears covered. On 3, the message directly to the governor. Just make noise, though. You ready? You ready to yell?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Still not a lot of energy. Come on up here. Show everybody how much energy you got, okay, now? Because you're going to lead the cheers. Say 1, turn around. Say 1, 2, 3, but do it with energy, okay?
1, 2, 3!
Yeah! Thank you. Okay, back to shy. Very good. Thank you all. Keep fighting the fight.
Thank you, Senator Backus. We are so grateful for his support and energy in behalf of our cause of music, and he's correct. He did have a bill that was put through the debate session earlier this year, and it was a 3% increase, 3%, and it failed. It failed, it did not pass, and we need to let our legislators know that music matters, and that it matters more than a new set of iPads, and it matters more than a new computer lab, which will be gone in 3 years when the next thing comes about and that technology is no longer. It's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Jenny Oaks Baker. Known as America's violinist, Jenny Oaks Baker is a Grammy-nominated Billboard #1 performer and recording artist. She received her Master of Music degree from the renowned Juilliard School in New York City and her bachelor's degree in violin performance from the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia. She's performed as a soloist in Carnegie Hall, the Lincoln Center, Strathmore Hall, the Library of Congress, and as a guest soloist with the National Symphony, Jerusalem Symphony, Pittsburgh Symphony, San Diego Symphony, Utah Symphony, and the internationally acclaimed Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Over the years, Jenny has collaborated with such luminaries as Gladys Knight, Kurt Bester, Marvin Hamlisch, and the former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. She has released 14 studio albums since 1998, and they have sold over 500,000 copies and consistently chart on the Billboard charts. Jenny's emotionally stirring music has also been featured on the soundtracks of many films, and her popular music videos can be viewed on her YouTube channel. Jenny and her husband Matthew and their 4 children reside in Salt Lake City, Utah. Jenny Oaks Baker and Family 4 have performed throughout the United States, including performances in Abravanel Hall, Stevens Performing Arts Center in Idaho, on the Hour of Power TV show broadcast worldwide from California, for Ambassadors' Wives at the Congressional Club in Washington, D.C., for the Washington, D.C. Temple Festival of Lights, and for the World Congress of Families. They are also featured on the CD, My Home Can Be a Holy Place, and on a Mormon Channel music video, performing Love is Spoken Here. Laura is 14 and plays the violin and the drums, and Hannah is 12 and plays the piano. Sarah is 11 and plays the cello. Matthew is 9 and plays the classical guitar and the electric guitar. They've been performing together as a family since each child started playing their instruments when they were 3 or 4 years old. We will first hear from Jenny and then from her amazing musical family. Please help me welcome Jenny Oaks Baker.
Good afternoon. I've been so impressed by the incredible performances we've had today and the legacy of music that the state has. I grew up in Utah, and we're now living here, and it's just a joy to be in a state that appreciates music and the arts and has so much talent. It's truly amazing. I have been heavily involved in music my entire life. As a concert violinist, recording artist, music teacher, former orchestral musician, wife to a DJ, and a mother to 4 aspiring musicians, I know how powerful music can be. Music truly feeds the soul, providing real mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional benefits. These benefits are vital to the well-being of children and adults. But music education also truly enlarges the mind, providing real and concrete educational benefits. Music education actually, as you know, improves reading, math, and science skills in children, giving them an increased propensity to succeed in life. They'll also be happier, as Caleb reminds us, as long as their practicing's done. In his article, Why Music Education Matters, musician Blake Madden writes, quote, research suggests that music training exercises so many different functions within the brain that it's kind of hard to engage with it fully and stay dumb very long. When a musician first learns to read music, she develops a process of recognizing and decoding a complex system of symbols. The musician then translates these symbols into appropriate motor actions that use both hands and confirms the accuracy of her actions through multi-sensory feedback, both sight and sound. In addition, musicians practice motor skills in the pursuit of metric precision. They exercise memory functions in the absence of written music and create new combinations on the fly through improvisation, unquote. In his book, A User's Guide to the Brain, medical doctor John J. Ratey writes, quote, "The musician is constantly adjusting decisions on tempo, tone, style, rhythm, phrasing, and feeling, training the brain to become incredibly good at organizing and conducting numerous activities at once. Dedicated practice of this orchestration can have a great payoff for lifelong attention skills, intelligence, and ability for self-knowledge and expression." Unquote. Music education truly benefits all kinds of children, and underprivileged children seem to gain the most from a musical education. I saw this firsthand as a music teacher in inner city New York. While attending the Juilliard School, I was awarded a Morse Arts and Education Fellowship, which gave me the opportunity to teach music classes over the course of 2 school years to underprivileged elementary school students at a New York public school. It was incredible to see these children blossom as they were taught the basics of music and then given the opportunity to become musical creators themselves. They felt empowered, and I could see what a difference the musical training was making in their lives. I saw the same benefits as I taught music to less fortunate children in Philadelphia and all over the Washington, D.C. area. Blake Madden heralded, quote, "You want higher test scores in math and science? Music education will help. You want children with higher mental facility? Music education will help. You want to keep kids out of trouble and on track towards college and future employment? Music education will help," unquote. I am so grateful to have been given an intensive musical education by my parents, and I've given my 4 children music lessons since they were 3 and 4 years old. The benefits I have observed in myself and my own children resulting from our intensive music education include the following: discipline, the ability to concentrate, an understanding of the connection between hard work and positive outcomes, hand-eye coordination, mental and emotional health, confidence, the ability to work together and compromise for the good of the whole, a connection to history, an appreciation for humanity, innate sensitivity, enhanced cognitive and memory skills, inner satisfaction, a tendency to stay busy and out of trouble, the ability to perform under pressure, balance, use time wisely, multitask, and work hard. The great leaders of history have known the value of music and the arts and have encouraged their study. Utah's first governor, Brigham Young, declared, "A study of art can enlarge the mind, invigorate the body, cheer the heart, and ennoble the soul," unquote. John Adams, 2nd President of the United States, stated, quote, "I must study politics and war, that my sons may have the liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. My sons ought to study mathematics and philosophy, geography, natural history, naval architecture, navigation, commerce, and agriculture, in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, music, architecture, statuary, tapestry, and porcelain," unquote. John Adams knew how important the arts are to humanity and was willing to dedicate his life to politics and war so that his posterity would have the privilege of studying music and the arts. How much more of a priority it should be to us living in these incredibly chaotic modern times to give our children all the emotional, mental, social, and intellectual benefits of a musical education. Utah State legislators, as you hyper-focus on a STEM, science, engineering, technology, and math curriculum, please remember the crucial role that the arts, especially music, play in the education of the whole child. Please take into consideration that on Tuesday, December 9th, 2015, with a landslide vote of 85 to 12, the federal government passed the Every Student Succeeds Act. This reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESEA, is historic in that for the first time ever, music is enumerated in federal statute as a standalone subject. Explicitly listed among the components of a well-rounded education for all students. The resounding message coming from the United States government is that music matters. Now as Utahns, we have a chance to echo that sentiment. Will we continue to push STEM components through as the only resolution to our education woes? Or will we in Utah acknowledge that music is a vital component in the full and complete education of children and give it the legislative support and backing needed to make our music education programs and our children flourish? Music education matters. Thank you.
The speeches have been so inspiring, and the purposes that we've brought you all together have been very clearly stated. But I'd like to reinforce that the Utah Music Educators Association with the National Association of Music Education feels that we can do better in Utah in recognizing and supporting the role of music in the lives and the educational process of all children. The Utah STEM initiative that we've talked about so much is a driving force in Utah education right now. STEM is an acronym for a renewed focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. The State of Utah STEM initiative is misguided and should be adjusted to our acronym of STEAM, which includes the arts and allows teachers to educate the next generation of innovators, artists, educators, scientists, and business leaders. In 2013, Harvard President Faust and Grammy Award musician and legendary music educator Wynton Marsalis wrote an article for the USA Today called The Art of Learning. Quote, "Many of today's students will hold jobs that have not yet been invented, deploying skills not yet defined. We must also enable them to ask the right questions to shape the world to come. We need education that nurtures judgment as well as mastery, ethics and values as well as analysis. We need learning that will enable students to interpret complexity, to adapt, to make sense of lives they never anticipated. We need a way of teaching that encourages them to develop understanding of those different from themselves, enabling constructive collaborations across national and cultural origins and identities. In other words, we need learning that incorporates what the arts teach us," close quote. Utah is currently experiencing significant economic growth, and considering that school quality is a key factor in maintaining healthy economics, it appears more vital than ever to ensure that Utah's educational system achieves corresponding levels of excellence. We believe the best method for achieving greater excellence is to invest in a broad, rich, public education curriculum that supports music in the content of all areas. Tony Makati has said, quote, "Our society desperately needs to value more than just academic abilities. Our children have unlimited potential and so much more to offer than just good test grades. Music exemplifies a few of these other capacities: intuition, practical skills, and creativity, just to name a few. Make no mistake, all of our children's growth will be stunted without music in their lives as part of their school day. If schools do not appropriate the proper resources to music education, our new federal law will do little good for children here. And guided resources have less to do with actual finances and more to do with changing long-established negative attitudes towards the arts as peripheral to a well-rounded education. And may I add, music is not peripheral. Music is central to the success of Utah students and their educational process."